Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of WNBL iTV. We have just completed round 10 of the WNBL. We're looking ahead to round 11, and as we keep saying, each and every week, there are fantastic games right around the competition. There are pivotal games, and the season is delicately poised with the sides pushing up for those final spots on the ladder. The competition right at the very top and also through the midsection as well. We've got fantastic coverage right around the competition. So today, as always, we're going to be looking back at what happened last week, looking forward to what's coming up, and looking around the league for all sorts of news a little bit later on with Catherine Murphy. But with Laurie Chiswick already gone away on her summer holiday, and in fact it's going to be a winter holiday for her as she heads over to Canada, I'm joined by a very special guest, a woman who is a WNBL Life member. Most people would know her as a player for over 260 WNBL games, plus 8 seasons as coach of the Bulleen Boomers. Cheryl Chambers is with me. Cheryl, thanks for coming in.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's an exciting time of year to be talking to you.
It is indeed. Now, you're not coaching this year. You're, of course, as I said, 8 seasons in control of Bulleen, and you're with Dandenong last year as an assistant. What's it like? It's been a while since you've been outside of the league.
It has. It's actually been a really good time to step back and have a look and just watch the games and enjoy the games. There's been some huge quality, players out there at the moment. So it's been a bit of fun. I miss it a little bit, but It's certainly, fun to get back and spend some time with the family.
Now, at the moment, you're actually the coach of the Australian Women's Under-19 team, the Gems. You coached to the World Championships this year. You guys came 4th?
Yes.
And only lost 1 game? Or was it 2, I think, in the year? I can't remember.
We lost 1 in the rounds, and then we lost the playoff for the gold medal, and lost the last 2 games. So, but a fantastic effort,
It really was, and some of the young talent that you had in your control in that competition or in the World Championships is on display, in particular for the AIS. So what can you tell us about some of those players?
Look, I think there's some real excitement. There's some work to be done, but Sarah Blickarfs is fantastic. Taylor Roberts was great over there. A shame that
Beck Cole.
Thank you.
Yes.
Beck Cole has hurt her knee because it would be fantastic to see her in the league. But there's a lot of talent, and there's still a lot of talent at the AIS now. So I look forward to working with them.
Yeah, it's been great to see their development across the course of this year, and the upset win they had over Townsville was quite thrilling. But looking a bit more broadly at the league, what have you made? What are your impressions? We know that there've been a lot of player movement in the off season, and everyone keeps talking about this being perhaps the most even competition we've seen in a very long time. What are some of the changes that you've noticed this year?
Look, I think it's a much more high-tempo game, and I think that's great leading into the Olympics. I think the WNBL is doing a fantastic job of, getting us ready and getting us going for the Olympics. So, bringing players like Belinda Snell back in and Susie in such great form is just absolutely fantastic. And, every game you go to, you're not really quite sure where it's going to go, so it's quite exciting. Yeah,
we've had lots of comebacks and all sorts of drama this season. We're hoping for a lot more. Now it's not all easy here, Cheryl. We're going to have to put you to a bit of hard work as well. We're going to look back, as I said, and review all the round 10 results. Before I do, I just want to give, as we always do at this point in the show, a plug to our social media segments or our social media websites and pages on Facebook and also Twitter. The Facebook site is Facebook/WNBL, and you can get on there and like that, and also correspond with the WNBL on Twitter at WNBL, and also myself at Darren Boyd01. We try and get some viewer questions in on this show, Cheryl. And maybe, are you on Twitter?
I'm not on Twitter, but I should get on Twitter.
You should.
I should.
You learn all
I'll
sorts
make
of
sure
stuff,
I will.
I can tell you, I had a campaign to get Laurie on. I succeeded, so maybe you could be next.
Okay, I might be next. It's our generation, isn't it? It takes us a little while to get going. So, but there should be lots of people out there that are watching basketball that should get on and Twitter away.
I'll make no comment at all about the generation comment. Now, let's look back around to the last round. Starting off with our ABC TV game of the week. It was up in Canberra, and it was on Saturday. It was great for us to have a live game, actually. It was, and the Sydney Uni Flames were able to get the job done. They defeated Canberra by 6 points, 70-76. Now, it was a strange game. Right at the end, or in the last quarter, Sydney led by 13. And then Canberra were just able to keep chipping away and chipping away. So Nicole Hunt hit a 3 with just 30 seconds left off a turnover. And we thought that they might have been able to send it to overtime and win it. As I kept saying, it's been that sort of season where this drama just keeps on happening. I'm not sure if you've got any idea why that might be the case.
I would think that Canberra, they're getting down the track of their season, and their season's probably on the line pretty quickly. And, Canberra probably don't like me saying this, but it might be already done.
Yep.
This weekend they've got a double, and I think if they don't get both of those, it's going to be hard to get their way into the playoffs. So when teams are desperate, that's what they do. They claw back, and that's probably what Canberra did on Saturday.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We feel like they're probably going to get to 12 wins to have any chance of making the finals, and to do that, they've only got 4 at the moment. They'd need to win 8 of their last 9 games. It's a really tough ask. They've lost a lot of close ones. 5 of their 9 losses have been by less than 10 points. So, they have been perhaps a little bit unlucky, but got to give credit to the Sydney Uni Flames. Not sure how many times you've seen them play live this season, but they're just so gutsy. They just don't give up at any stage.
Well, they've got some pure talent there with bringing Alicia Poto and Belinda Snell. I mean, that's fantastic to bring in. And then they've already got, Amy Denson and, a lot of quality players at that team. It will hurt them without Eva.
Yep.
So, the Christmas break's probably coming at a good time so that they can get used to their roles. But, this weekend coming up, as you say, is a big weekend for everyone.
And wonderful as well for Canberra to see Michelle Cozier back in uniform after a long layoff last week. Well, the season began actually last Wednesday. Sorry, the round began, I should say, last Wednesday evening up in Bendigo, at the Bendigo Stadium, where the home side went down to the Bulleen Boomers in another tough contest. It was a packed house there at Bendigo with the National Schools Championship on, and everyone was there and cheering away. But despite Christy Harrow's best efforts, they couldn't get the job done. But I want to ask you, Cheryl, about Rachel Jarry. She had 27 points, I think, in the game and was just unbelievable. Her and Sam Richards just took over the match in the second quarter and won it for Bulleen. She's a remarkable talent. She is
a remarkable talent, and she's trying to stamp her authority on trying to get into that Olympic team. So, she's doing herself no harm. She can play, she can defend, she's athletic, and she's got something about her. She's got a little bit of toughness. So I think that she'll be a definite player of the future.
For the West Coast Waves, they had an opportunity to try and upset the Logan Thunder, who they narrowly lost to just a couple of weeks ago over in Queensland. But unfortunately, Rahani Cox's 30 points were not enough to upset the Thunder, who had a brilliant team performance, and they ended up winning that one by 21 points. The other game also on Friday was between the Adelaide... In fact, it wasn't on Friday. This was the backup game for the Logan Thunder. Very tough with these road doubles. They had to travel to Adelaide and play a game on Saturday evening, and the home side were too strong. They took over in the second half. It was pretty close early, but you mentioned Susie Bakovic before, Cheryl, and the form that she's in. 27 points and 12 rebounds is pretty much run-of-the-mill for her at the moment.
Yeah, look, I think Adelaide, they're pretty talented, and they bring, Jennifer Screen off the bench, which is just what a luxury for a coach to have a quality player coming off the bench. So, Adelaide, I think that they're doing pretty well.
The Bendigo Spirit once again were able to comfortably defeat the AIS. This was the second time in a week they'd been able to do that. The AIS put up a little bit better show than they did last time, certainly putting more points on the board, but it wasn't enough to upset the Spirit at home. One of the biggest matches and the most significant in terms of the overall season, Cheryl, was up in Townsville on Saturday night, and the Townsville Fire couldn't get the job done against the Rangers. This was a huge win for the Rangers. They've swept the Townsville Fire now in the season series 2-0. They had another very even performance, but great for them to see Steph Cumming overshadowing Jenna O'Hay and Kathleen McLeod and top scoring with 20 points.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Dandenong are tough with their firepower. If Steph, Jenna and Kath are on, they're tough to beat. So as you can see, they've got a great win up in Townsville.
Yeah, they really have, and it sets them up very nicely. We'll show you in the ladder in a moment or two's time. The final match of round 10 was at the Veneto Club, where the Bulleen Boomers were able to get, once again, a comfortable victory over the RAS. But this match will probably be most memorable for being Tom Maher's 300th game as a WNBL coach. I know, Cheryl, that he took over from you at Bulleen a couple of years ago, and you'd taken to the grand final. Tom took to the grand final, then a championship. He's been around the league such a long time. It's a great achievement.
Oh, it is a great achievement, and that's what we need in women's basketball. Fantastic coaches, and it's great that Tom's come back to the country, and he's putting stuff back into our athletes.
Yeah, it's a great community club there at Bulleen. All right, here's the ladder as it stands now. The Lightning out on top. The Flames pretty comfortable in second. Then the two Victorian sides who play again this week, which will be fantastic. We'll preview that in a few moments' time. Townsville and Logan on the fringes of the top five, and Bendigo still with high hopes of making it to the finals once more. Do you see that ladder changing a lot? I'm sure you haven't studied the draw as perhaps some of the coaches might have, but do you think the ladder will change a lot down the stretch?
I do, because there's a long way to go, and there's always injuries and a whole lot of other things that you don't foresee at this time of the year. But, I think that, as you say, those two at the bottom of the outside the fork and get back in, but it'll be a close one.
All right, well, I mentioned a few moments ago that Rahani Cox had 30 points in her side's loss to the Logan Thunder on the weekend. A few weeks ago, we actually caught up with Rahani as part of our continuing series, trying to get a bit behind the scenes and get to know some of the players and their lives away from the court in the WNBL. And here's what Rahani had to say.
You've had a lot of individual accolades right throughout your career, but the team success has always evaded you somehow, and sadly. But what are the building blocks with this Perth program and the unique challenges that you face?
Well, there's a lot of young girls coming through, and I think I'm more of a role model over there with the girls. I'm just trying to help them, take that extra step and get them, competing again, or all of us competing in WA against, the Melbournes, the Sydneys, and Adelaides again. So yeah, just to get up there and be, a mentor, I suppose, for the young girls.
And is that something that comes naturally to you, or do you have to work hard at that? How do you find that role?
Since I'm a bit experienced now, it sort of comes easier. But yeah, just leading by example, I suppose. I'm not a person that says a lot, but I try to show it on court what I do.
And what about away from the court? Congratulations, of course. Your second daughter was born in the last year or so, Giselle. And how do her and Alira go with you? And how much do you love having that family support around you?
It's awesome. I mean, it's hard when I'm away from Alira, but I bring Giselle on the road with me. So that's really exciting. All the girls help and look after. And it's good just mixing it up.
Without a doubt, it would be, and certainly I can't imagine there are any other mothers in the West Coast team.
No.
So it'll be a very different role. Is it a bit of fun and frivolity with the girls then?
Oh, definitely. I mean, they put their hand up to help and stuff, and that's great. We're a good unit, good group of girls, and yeah, they're always out to help me.
Great to catch up with Rahani Cox. She's still playing fantastic basketball for the West Coast Waves, and good luck to her for the rest of the season. Now, as we do at this time every week, we're going to head over to the news desk with Catherine Murphy.
Thank you for that, guys. Well, it's a big milestone weekend for Samantha Woosnam. She plays her 250th WNBL game as Dandenong take on Bendigo. No doubt she'll be hoping to celebrate with a win. It's been quite a career for her. She's spent a lot of her time in Europe, and among her many accolades, she is a former Austrian and German All-Star. So that is quite a list of accolades. Congratulations to her. Well, she is a regular in my news segment. I can't deny it, but this week Liz Cambage has been named as an ambassador for the T20 Big Bash cricket side, the Melbourne Renegades. She caught up with the boys for a bit of time in the nets, and I had a chance to chat to her about the season so far and her involvement with other sporting codes in Melbourne. Liz, you've been back in Australia a while now. How does it feel to be home, and how well have you settled into this season?
Being home is awesome. Had a bit of a shaky time in the WNBA over in America, but it's just great being back in Melbourne and with the new bullying girls. And yeah, the season this year, it's been really full on. All the teams are so equal, and it's been a real challenge, but a great one.
You're so young, yet you're more experienced than a lot of the girls in your side. Has that been interesting, getting that leadership role?
I never actually got a leadership role, but I see myself as a leader, and I feel like the girls and Sammy and, we all get along so well, and we all look to each other for positivity as such a young group. And, sometimes I get a bit angry on the court, and I'm learning to deal with that, and the girls are helping me, and we're getting there. We're coming together as such a great young squad.
You've been on Twitter talking about the fact that, you're almost having your clothes removed. It's getting a bit rough out on the court. How has that been?
Yeah, it's getting very rough on the court. I'm wearing my knee pads, I'm wearing my mouth guard, I wear my ankle braces just to, make sure I survive some games. As I said the other week, maybe I need to invest in a helmet because it's getting a bit rough out there. And it's funny that the refs, they let some things go, and they don't let some things go. All we want is a bit of, consistency some days.
Okay, a bit more consistency. It sounds like a very interesting year so far. Outside of the court, you've been hanging out with the Melbourne Rebels. You're an ambassador for the Renegades. Do you feel that you're really part of Melbourne as the sporting capital now?
Yeah, everyone who knows me knows I love Melbourne. It's my city, and it's the greatest city in Australia. And yeah, it's great. We have so much sport going on here, and the new Renegades and the Stars rivalry. It's really great.
How about the boys? Have you been giving them any tips, or have they been useful at all in giving you any fitness tips?
Well, yeah, you know, I was looking at the cricket field just before, and it's massive. I was like, oh, lucky, you know, how big's a basketball court? It's as big as a football field, thank God. But yeah, they've been giving me some tips, and hopefully I can get them out to a game soon.
Indeed, and I imagine you'll be attending their games just as you expect to see them in the crowd at yours.
It'll be great, I can't wait.
Do you think they'd look good in Bulleen jerseys?
They look good in red, so maybe they can look good in anything if you look good in red.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much, Liz.
Thank you.
Well, yes, I think Liz was quite impressed with the Renegades. We're not so impressed with her bowling style. I think she'll be sticking to basketball. Well, finally, Liz's teammate, Rachel Jarry, has won Player of the Week after she scored 25 points against Bendigo. Congratulations to her. And Darren, it just goes to show if you come in to do an interview and a segment on our show, you're a pretty good chance of winning the following week.
Well, I think Catherine's absolutely right. And as we mentioned earlier, Cheryl Chambers is with me. Rachel Jarry, as we talked about at the top of the show, fantastic play. But we don't mess around. We only got the cream of the crop in here. We had Jenna in here, we had Rachel in here, and Laurie Chiswick, and now you. I think that's not a bad little, not a bad group we've had.
Yeah, well, I think Rachel Jarry can play a bit better basketball than Laurie and I, that's for sure.
Maybe that might be the case. All right, let's get down to business and preview what's coming up in round 11 of the Women's National Basketball League. The AIS taking on the Canberra Capitals. This is the match that's kicking off the week on Wednesday. It's always interesting with the AIS. You never quite know when they're going to put it together and cause another big upset.
Well, true, and the AIS would see Canberra play a lot, so yeah. I guess it's one of those games where they could do well. So, you know, I'm sure that Graffy is making sure that she's crossing her I's and dotting her T's to make sure she gets that win.
Friday night in southeast Queensland, the Logan Thunder will host the Townsville Fire. It's the third time these sides have met this season. The Fire have defeated Logan on both of the previous occasions by 12 points and 9 points respectively. But Cheryl, this is our ABC TV match for broadcast. I'm really looking forward to it. It is important for the Thunder to actually get one back on their rival, I suppose, their Queensland rival, if they're to push for a final spot.
Yeah, and I think that the same thing with Townsville, because it's a double weekend, they'll be going out there trying to get this win first up, so I think it'll be a cracker of the game.
I think it will be. It's interesting though, Logan seem to have a lot of talent, but they're really inconsistent. Yeah. Townsville have been struggling lately, but they've been playing some tough sides and not been losing, not been going down by big margins. They're sort of a consummate team, I guess.
They are, and I think if you look at both those teams, you would say Logan have a lot more depth than Townsville have, so maybe it'll come down to that at the end of the day. Really
looking forward to the other match on Friday night, which you can catch live around the country on WNBL radio through the WNBL website, wnbl.com.au, of course, and that's between the Dandenong Rangers and the Bulleen Boomers. There's been much drama about this matchup, across many years, but certainly this year. Cheryl, the first game, of course, Dandenong conceded a 13-point lead and lost to Bulleen, and the second game went to overtime. What are you expecting here?
Look, nothing more than that. I mean, over the years, it's been a fantastic rivalry. So, you know, everyone get out and support that rivalry, and let's see, see a fantastic game of basketball. It could go either way.
It really could. It's third against fourth on the ladder at the moment. Bulleen are just above Dandenong, and as I said, they've beaten the Rangers twice this year. But I've got a sneaking suspicion that right at this moment, Dandenong might be a better side. What do you think? I mean, Bulleen just seem to be a bit too inconsistent.
Yeah, I think you're right, and they've got some fantastic experience, Dandenong. So, I wouldn't be surprised at Dandenong's home court that they could, sneak a win.
It's a thrilling weekend right across the league, as I said, right at the top of the program. The Sydney Uni Flames take on the Townsville Fire. When these sides met a few weeks ago, they were undefeated. But now Sydney have continued. They've lost a couple of games, but they're still up at the top part of the ladder in second spot. Townsville have dropped a few spots. You mentioned that Townsville have 2 games this weekend. How hard is that physically and mentally for sides to have to back up and to travel and do all those things?
Well, it is. The travel is always difficult and having meals and all that sort of stuff, but the emotion of the weekends generally, it's okay if your first game goes pretty well, you can usually flow that in, but if you've got to quickly repair something from the night before, it can mean a huge difference between the two teams.
And it's not too different for the Dandenong Rangers, because after they play Bulleen on Friday night, they've got to, they'll probably have a sleep at home at least, but then they've got to jump on the bus up to Bendigo and play the Spirit Spirit, who were really desperate. I was intrigued by some of Christy Harrow's comments a couple of weeks ago where she said, look, you know, I really hate getting beaten, and sometimes I wonder if some of my teammates share the same fire. And, you know, it was interesting. Maybe they were geared to fire up some of her teammates and really get some sort of a reaction out of them out on the court. What do you think?
Well, knowing Christy, she's an absolute competitor.
Yeah.
So, you know, without a doubt, you know, whether she intentionally or didn't intentionally meet it, you know, she'd be asking her team to step up and get this win. And I think this weekend she'll be, you know, doing everything she can.
There's no doubt that the Adelaide Lightning will start warm favourites against the West Coast Wave in the other game on Saturday night. Despite this game being held over in Perth, the sides have already met this year, and the Adelaide Lightning pretty comfortably defeated the Waves, and it is the top side going up against the team in ninth. But hopefully for the Waves fans and supporters who get out there on Saturday night, they can give a good account of themselves and maybe, just maybe, upset the Lightning. And then the final game, Cheryl, before the Christmas break is upon us, is between the Canberra Capitals and the Bulleen Boomers. And we talk about a great rivalry. Well, you know, 3 grand finals in a row indicates that these two sides have a fantastic rivalry in recent years. But the Boomers were able to pretty comfortably defeat the Capitals by 20 the first time they met this season. It was way back in round 1. Can you see any difference here? I mean, the Capitals, we know, have struggled a bit offensively particularly. What sort of plans will they have for Bulleen?
Well, I guess they would have a plan to try and slow down their scoring, because if you're struggling to score yourself, you definitely need to make sure that you slow the other team down. So, you know, I think that'll be a great game, to be quite honest with you, because Canberra really do have to sneak one over the top. So, and Bulleen will be wanting to do the same thing. So I think that'll be another great game.
Yeah, and again, Bulleen with a double play that weekend, because they've got the Friday night game in Dandenong, and then they've got to go to Canberra. Tough for them too.
Yeah, tough. I mean, if you know, Jarry, Sam or Liz, something happens to them, you know, their depth is right down.
All right, well, that's about all we've got time for WNBL iTV. As always, we'd like you to stay in contact with us on Facebook and also Twitter. Tweet in your questions, tweet in your comments, and generally just give us some feedback about the league and your team and your thoughts on what's happening in the WNBL. But before we go, I want to thank Cheryl Chambers. Cheryl, thanks for coming in as my special guest.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you again next week, same time, and we hope that we'll have your company again next week as we head into the Christmas break on the WNBL iTV show. We'll look forward to your company then.